Welcome to the Osmo Early Bird Podcast. It's your old pal Emac coming to you with one Dave Lochran. No, this is not me loading the wrong file. It is actually Friday, June 7th. We've got 14 games on the main slate and a nooner, if you will. And I'm filling in for one Dan Strafford. So as he always likes to say, Lofty, how the hell are you doing?
Doing all right. Yourself?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. It's so happy it's Thursday because of course we are recording this on Thursday night. They have TGIF, but I always appreciate the old "so happy it's Thursday" acronym. A lot more fun to say, especially when people sit down and figure out what it actually is. But there we are. Are you thinking about "so happy it's Thursday"? You got it.
Yeah, I hadn't considered that yet. I work on Saturday and Sunday too, so all the days just run together at this point.
All right. Well, the other beautiful thing I had is and we're not going to get to talk about him, but that's the early one here. This is the Cubbies, and let me get to the right page. There's the Cubs hosting the Cardinals. So I made my Mikolas joke about Miles Mikolas, and Adam heard me say that, and then the next time we talked about him, he called him Mikolas, and he's like, "Oh, damn it." I'm like, there we go. My life's work is complete. I got Adam fooled there. But I know the fella, he knows the word games better than anybody else. It's the Punisher. So we won't be trying any of that. We've got 14 games. We're going to borrow from what Adam and I have started doing. We've got some good feedback. So we're going to hit on each pitcher here in their matchups. We won't worry as much about teams or hitters against them. We will tell you if they're pitchers that you should target against. But with 14 games, we should see suppressed popularity on most of these teams. So we'll know more as lineups come out. We'll find some better pricing, nuances. We'll get some batting orders. We'll have all day to look at it and figure out what's going on. You're going to get a few shows on Friday. You'll get the DFS strategy show. That'll be at 9:30 Friday morning. Around 1 o'clock, you are going to get the Yahoo centric show. That is with one Josh Engelman, Jake Hari, and wait for it, Osmo himself. You're going to get the deep dive. That's behind the paywall. That'll come out in the early afternoon from Dave Lochran, Lofty D. He'll be writing that. Then you'll get Lofty and Adam on the deep dive Friday at 5 o'clock. And then at 6 o'clock, live before lock, I believe it is Spags and Jake, I think. So you'll get those guys. And then Saturday and Sunday, we've got shows wall to wall. So let's jump on in here. Lofty, let me set you up. I've been doing all the talking here. So we've got the Cincinnati Reds in to Philadelphia. You're familiar with this ballpark and this team. We've got a 70-degree temperature here. Tyler Mahle is going against Zach Eflin. Mahle got pushed back after the St. Louis and Cincinnati rainout on Wednesday night. So he is going here. Not quite as fully righty-heavy team now that Jay Bruce has been acquired here for Philly. You've got Harper, and you've got is there anybody else? Those are the only guys I can think of off top of mind. So I'm kind of liking Mahle in this one. This is your team. You know Eflin. You know the batters. Break this one down for us, Dave.
Man, Jay Bruce has been raking. I mean, it's so ridiculous, right?
You have two former Mariners and a former National on your starting lineup.
That's right.
Don't think I haven't noticed.
I know. It really is crazy though. The guy's got 17 home runs on the season. Like, he's crushing the baseball. And, he's going to strike out. We know that. He's going to strike out. But people are like, oh, man, he strikes out a lot. He doesn't hit for average. Have you seen Odubel Herrera swing a baseball bat? Like that? He didn't hit for power or for average. So I don't know what people are worried about. Honestly, I'll take it. It's a win. I mean, his fielding isn't great, but the amount of mistakes Odubel made in center field were even worse. So what are you going to do? Anyway, Tyler Mahle, this is something Adam and I discussed on the show on last start. It may have been, what's today, Thursday? So probably last Friday's show on the deeper dive. Tyler Mahle has good stuff. He doesn't always harness it, but he has good stuff. And the biggest thing about Tyler Mahle is his K rate versus righties. He's striking them out at 31% this season. He gives up, one home run per 9. He's got a pretty low whip, above average. The numbers are good. It's lefties that have given him trouble. This has been the case for his whole career. He's striking more righties out than he ever did. but he's been very good against them too. Lefties have been very troublesome. So, as you just pointed out the lefties, it obviously matters how many lefties are in the lineup, but at least with Jay Bruce, he does swing and miss and he will strike out. So there's the upside there. Um, Bryce Harper too. Bryce Harper's striking out at a pretty high clip this season. So I do think this is a viable spot, a viable matchup for. By the way, I don't know if you mentioned Adam Hazley, but
Oh no, that was the guy I couldn't think of. I knew they had someone else floating around out there that.
yeah, he just got called up anyway. But there will be a few lefties. It's a tougher matchup. It's at Citizens Bank Park. It should be warm. So it's not a matchup I'm in love with, but I do think at 7,300 he's viable. I think he should be a little bit cheaper in this particular spot, but if you have 6 righties in the lineup, I'm definitely interested. As far as Eflin goes, coming off the 10-day DL, he's fine, but he's also the type of guy that is not going to consistently give you good strikeout numbers. The Reds don't strike batters out. In my opinion, the way that he gets to where you need him to go is if he goes like 8 one-run innings, which again, Cincy is possible. I just don't really want to run that risk at almost the 9K price point.
Yeah, the only other thing I want to point out, and we kind of hit on it, but to put the actual raw numbers to it, over his last 378 lefties faced, that since the beginning of last season, Molly is allowing 2.5 home runs per 9. So you figure 1 for Harper, 1 for Bruce, and then half of one maybe for the recent call-up. Now, we can't get a half, but that's how we're going to divvy these up. Moving on to our next game here, we do have the Arizona Diamondbacks in Toronto. Toronto did have the roof open on Thursday night, and they will do that from time to time. There's a Twitter handle out there that if you just type in Toronto roof, it'll pull up, but they usually are relatively accurate. It's not particularly affiliated with the team, but you can find it pretty quick. But it looks like a low temperature in the 70s, no precipitation, so it should be a reasonably pleasant evening there in Toronto. So those are the times when they have the Rogers Center roof open. So we've got Merrill Kelly going against Marcus Stroman. Stroman has his heavy ground ball rate, essentially elite. You've got Merrill Kelly, who had the long and winding road up to the majors. He spent 5 years in the minors, 5 years over in Korea, and hey, at the ripe old age of 31, he has made his major league debut. So we've got 10 or 11 starts now under his belt. His last one was relatively solid, but he's someone I'm okay taking the Blue Jays against. You can find them in the Spotlight Stacks and Hitter article, but because they are cheap. They've struggled throughout the year and never really are putting it all together with much consistency, but I'm going to the Blue Jays bats in this one. I'm good with Stroman on the other side. How are you approaching Kelly and Stroman?
Stroman's a good pitcher. It's just what type of upside are you getting from him? It's a 14-game slate. I don't know you need to go there. I don't have any intentions of targeting against him. That it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. The D-backs just got Peralta back, which certainly helps them quite a bit. And they have the 18th highest or 12th lowest K rate against righties. And really, they haven't been great against them this year, but they're not awful either, So for Stroman, it's just really tough to see him getting there, especially at this price point. And Merrill Kelly, I mean, he's coming off that really, really solid start. This is a guy that hadn't even pitched in the major league system for like 4 years before this season. But that was against the Mets, and the Toronto Blue Jays have not been very good. I think you're right, though. He is they are very, very cheap. The only reason I'd have any interest in Kelly is if Toronto comes in as a chalk stack because they're so discounted. That would really be it. Not because I love the guy. But let me just I want to know I haven't really looked into him all that much this year. So Merrill Kelly has a 8.9% swinging strike rate, 26% called plus swinging strike rate. I mean, those just aren't very good numbers. His first pitch strike rate on this slate, which has 28 pitchers, 54%, is the third lowest behind or ahead of only Margevicius and Senzatella. So I hate to say it, but there are some red flags here. He gets a decent amount of ground balls, doesn't give up a ton of hard contact, but I don't want to pay that much for Kelly.
Yep, that definitely makes sense. Moving along here, we have Tampa Bay up in Boston. It's going to be in the mid 70s. No precipitation issues there. Slight breeze gently blowing towards left at 3 to 5 miles an hour. You have Yanni Chirinos and Rick Porcello. That is Cy Young award winning Rick Porcello. Taking the bump here. Chirinos 8,100 on DraftKings. Porcello 7,100. I did want to give a shout out to our presenting sponsor Yahoo to remind everybody that Tyler Mahle was 36 over on Yahoo. That's a very good price. Porcello is at 40. I'm not really interested in him there, but Marcus Stroman coming in at 34. I don't mind that one on Yahoo as well.
No, that's perfectly fine.
Yep.
34 for Stroman is not bad at all.
Yeah, because you don't. It's more about not necessarily the upside, because the strikeouts are not quite as king on Yahoo as they are on, say, DraftKings. But it's all about your guy not imploding, and even those few, $6-7 extra dollars, you can upgrade two hitters very nicely, because there are not mispriced players. There are players that are, according to their unique pricing formula, different. So you just don't lift and shift your player pools from the other site there on to Yahoo. Well, you can, but you'll find some guys seemingly incredibly high, and other guys that you thought were too high on the other sites, you can get in on Yahoo. So it's a nice site as a primary or secondary site. So we'll talk about them a little further down the list, but they are pretty good. You can use the promo code OSMO. Come in on the link in the third paragraph of the Spotlights, Hitters, and Stacks article every day. That'll be in there. It'll give you instructions how to use the promo code and then the link for you to come in on and get $30 in Yahoo Sports Rewards points with your initial deposit. That is called a deposit bonus, and they will match it up to $30. Yahoo Sports Rewards points are just as good as cash. Back to Tampa Bay and Boston, Laffy. How are you feeling about this? I'm assuming even if they put in, Stanek went the other day, but even if they put in one of their other relievers in front of Chirinos, he should still see upwards of 70 pitches, is my guess.
You would think so. I mean, if he's getting starts, then he should. That's really the only. That's what I would assume. But
they like to change their mind there in Tampa Bay.
They do. I mean, they do. And I said on the deep dive, or the deeper dive, I don't really even have much interest in trying to figure it out anymore, because once you think you've got it nailed, you end up being entirely wrong. But the Boston Red Sox have a very low K rate. They are a good team. They hit for a ton of power. They have a 254 ISO versus righties. That is tops in baseball by 22 ISO points. It's insane. Like they have just. I don't really see why you would want to pay 8,100 for Chirinos here at all, or Porcello. Tampa's a good enough team. The only argument with Porcello is he's really cheap. That's really it. But neither of these guys are really all that appealing to me. I mean, look, we've gotten through 3 games, and I don't have a ton of interest in any pitching yet, but we'll get there.
Yeah, not too fair. We got several more. Heading on to our next one, Colorado in New York, taking on the Metropolitans. You have Antonio Senzatella taking the bump there for the Rockies. The Mets have a 4.4 implied run total. Jake DeGrom is taking the mound for them. The Rockies have a corresponding 3.2 implied run total. DeGrom 9,400 there on DraftKings. He is on Yahoo. He is 46. He is the 5th most expensive pitcher. He's been dinged up a little bit. Let's see. Pulled from his start on Saturday due to a sore hip. He had gone 6 2/3 innings in that one. He had 7 strikeouts, gave up 1 run. I'm hoping he should be fine. I'm not seeing anything that would give us some red flags. Laffy, intriguing matchup for him going against Colorado, who is one of the worst teams from the weighted runs created plus metric when they are on the road, and that does neutralize for park factors, so that should even out the Coors Field bump, and they get even worse than you would expect on the road.
Jacob deGrom is far and away the easiest pitching play we've gotten to thus far, and probably on the slate. I mean, he's 9,400 on DraftKings. How do you price him there? Like, you want to make the argument that he hasn't been great. I don't. That means nothing to me. I mean, the dude is he's still striking out 30% of batters almost. 29%. I don't see how he could be this cheap against the Rockies. You're talking about a Colorado team that away from Coors Field has been dismal. But not only that, against righties this season, they're bottom 5 in WRC plus. They are right alongside the likes of the Orioles, and Tigers, and Giants. I mean, that's where they are. They have some power, but they have not had remarkable power this season. And their K rate against right-handed pitching um, is what top? It's top 15, but once you get outside of Coors, it goes into the top 6 or 7. So, I mean, I don't, I don't see any way, especially in cash. I just don't see any way you get away from Jacob DeGrom here. I don't. I still think he's perfectly fine.
All right, Senzatella, we are not likely to play him. He is not great against lefties or righties. My preferred plays would be going to the power bats here. I'm fine with Conforto. I would not hate Alonso or Wilson Ramos. Keep an eye on Robbie Cano. He hurt himself again and is listed as questionable, but he is at 3,000 on DraftKings. Adam and I have mentioned multiple times that he is seemingly forgotten to be priced. I say it's because he missed half of last season with the suspension for his training regimen. But I don't know what's going on. But if he's in the lineup, that's going to be a tough one to pass. Just know he is not at full health. Moving on here to the next one, you've got Domingo Germán, 9,500 going into Cleveland to take on the Indians. You have Zach Plesac on the other side. Plesac is 30 on Yahoo. He is 7,000 on DK. Going against the Yankees, always tough. They do have some strikeouts there for us. We'll have to see. I don't hate that price point, but I'm not exactly fired up for taking on the Yankees, even without Stanton and Judge. What do you like here between Germán and Plesac?
Plesac's been pretty impressive, though, right? I mean, give the guy some credit for sure. He went out there against Boston in a rain delayed game and tossed 5 1/3 1-run innings, only 2 Ks. But again, they really just don't punch out. And then the White Sox 7 1-run innings with 7 Ks. It was a brilliant performance. He got the loss too, because when he left the game, it was 1-0 on a single or on a solo shot that he allowed to Yohan Moncada. I believe it was Moncada. Uh, I think there's some potential upside here, and this will be one I want to look a little bit more against. I want to look a little more into his splits from AAA. I think it's kind of important, knowing that we're going to have a decent amount of righties in this lineup for the Yankees. But he's a good pitcher, and he's shown some pretty impressive stuff early on. But I will say, swinging strikes, called plus swing, it's only one stat. I get that, but it is pretty low. Also, he faced Boston, so we really need more data there before we move forward. I think we're going to come up with a few cheaper pitchers here. Domingo Germán, this guy gets a good amount of punch outs. He's striking out well over a batter per 9 this season. When you start looking at his swinging strike stuff, I mean, Germán's been really good, and I just don't. The question is like, how are you going to go to him over DeGrom unless you're just trying to be totally different? But it's funny because they have identical swinging strike rates this year. Germán has a 32% called plus swinging strike rate. He's striking lefties out at 28%, and he's going to face a lot of them today. So I don't think it's a crazy idea to look at somebody like him and think that he's a viable tournament play. It's just, again, hard to get to him when you have DeGrom at such a comparable price.
All right. Let me see here. Yeah, I would have to concur with that one. I don't really want to tangle with Cleveland either. It's going to depend on their lineup. They have somewhat of a weakened one potentially, so we'll see what they put out there. But he would be your direct pivot. Moving on to the next game, Lofty, you take a bow. Here he is, Kyle Gibson, five-figure club, 10,100 on DK. He is 46 on DraftKings. I'm not sure why. He has been solid throughout the whole season, but from a fantasy perspective, a whole lot of meh. He's striking out 1 per inning, which is fine. He is just under a 4 ERA, just over a 1.2 whip for the basic stats, averaging 17 DK points per game. He's even getting a bunch of wins sprinkled in there as well. I
have Pineda starting.
Oh, do you? Okay, let me see here. I've got MLB on ESPN has Gibson.
Because
Let's see.
MLB is
I'm going over.
sorry, he's activated. He's supposed to be activated. MLB still has to be determined, but
Gotcha. They're just waiting for the actual activation.
Right.
So you're right, because I did see that Pineda was due back. So it's going to be Pineda there. Victory lap for another time. What do you think about a less than stellar Miguel Pineda going against a less than stellar Tigers? This is a matchup made in heaven. Let's call up some pricing here for
it does feel
Pineda.
good to see the Gibsons that much, knowing that I've been on this guy for so long now that it's finally coming to fruition.
I was waiting for the ticker tape parade for you, man. You're just going right,
right
down through the streets
right?
streets of Philly. We'll have to save that for another time. Pineda is at 6,400 there on DraftKings, which is reasonably priced. He is, let's see, what was he out there? Sore knee. He has not pitched since the 27th. He is stretched out, but he will probably top out around 90 to 95 pitches, which not really a shock because that's what he's been doing for most of the season. After we got through that cold weather there to start out in Minnesota when they were giving him some abbreviated outings. How are you feeling about Pineda in this matchup that's actually built for him?
I'd give Pineda a look in tournaments. Why not? 12% swinging strike. Strike and let righties out only 23%. He's going to see a lot of them, but he doesn't walk many, which has been surprising this season. He's been hit hard, though. He's given up a lot of home runs. Detroit's got a little bit of power, and he's allowed 14 home runs in 11 starts. I mean, it's been rough. He's allowed multiple home runs 4 times over his last 8 starts. So there are certainly some things about this matchup or about Pineda that I don't like, but he's also super cheap. If they let him throw 90, 95 pitches at this price point, there's no question Pineda could go out there and give you 20, 25 fantasy points. It's really that simple. I don't see myself using him in cash, but I definitely see value here. Just like a Freddie Peralta against Miami, a whole lot of red flags, a whole lot of risk, but he has good stuff. He can strike batters out, and we got a great game from him. That's where I stand on Peralta or on Pineda. But with Matt Boyd, I have a tough time paying this much for him. He's very good. He's very good, and he's going to continue to pitch well. But Minnesota just does not strike out at a high rate. Once again, he's above 10K, and you have a few. You have Kershaw against the San Francisco Giants. You have Soroka against Miami. Very expensive though. Garrett Cole against Baltimore. Some of these price points are insane, which is why DeGrom stands out from everybody else. But it also puts guys like Matt Boyd in no man's land.
All right. Yeah, as you mentioned, the Twins have the 4th highest WRC plus against lefties. That is up there with, randomly the Nationals, but also Diamondbacks, Twins, Astros, Dodgers, teams that you would expect to see up there. Basically, they're scoring or creating 20% runs more than the average team does against lefties once we neutralize the park factors. Pineda over on Yahoo is 26. The minimum salary price is 25, though I can't think of who it was. We saw somebody come in at 20 there the other day, and they were like 4K on DK. And it wasn't like a reliever. It was just some horrible, horrible pitcher. My apologies to their family if they're listening, but these are a couple guys that aren't playing Major League Baseball making fun of them. So. But 26 for Pineda. Yeah, I will definitely roll the dice. Don't forget they have a management fee free contest. It's $3 to enter, 10 entry max, and it fills up usually by around 10 a.m. Eastern. Let's see. There it is running. Oh, it's actually a bigger one. It's gonna run. Oh, I'm gonna have to find it. Oh, they might have changed. They may have changed the price point. So I want to talk about this if they have. So they've actually got 2 for tomorrow. They have a $3 no management fee that has 3,000. That has 2,000 people in it. $6,000 prize pool. That's $6,000 coming in, $6,000 going out. If it doesn't fill, it will fill. They're still paying out $6,000. They're running a $15 one. Same deal. No management fee. It's the first time they've dusted that one off since the first week of the season. That has 1,000 people in it. Oh, Lofty, they have it. Oh, it's not no management fee. I'm sorry. They gave it the little symbol, the featured symbol, but they used to reserve that for no management fee. Little gold.
I think the 10K, the one that they run out for 10K every day is a 12% management fee.
Right. But do they give it the little gold trophy?
Maybe not. No,
I didn't think they did. All right, so my bad there, my bad. But they do have a fun contest. So both those are 10 entry max. 12% management fee, as Dave pointed out there, for the $15,000 prize pool. That one has $2,000 going to first. And hey, you know what? Anyone can actually win it. I won the version of that they were running last year for $5,000 on my 10 entries at $6 or $7 a piece. So there you go. If I can do it, so can you. Moving along here, we've got Atlanta in Miami. Fantastic matchup, of course. Mike Soroka, you're going to pay a premium for him, $11,600 on DK. He is, let's see, reasonably highly priced as the third highest priced pitcher on Yahoo at 50. But the matchup is sublime. On the other side, you have Jose Urena, $7,500 on DK. We may need some salary relief. It is a park, decent pitcher's park, but the Atlanta Braves are carrying a 4.6 implied run total. What would you like to do here with either of these guys on both ends of the pricing spectrum?
Soroka's a good pitcher, but you're going to be hard pressed to justify going there today. And it's kind of simple. Like, while he's good, he's also not great from a fantasy perspective. Like, you're talking about strikeout rates against lefties, 21.8%, 22% against righties. You're going to need to go real deep into this game to pay this price point off. And I don't see it being the case. It wouldn't be, he's like a, 5, 6, 7 strikeout guy, good pitcher, but 11-6. I get that it's Miami, but it's really hard to argue in favor of Soroka here at that price. I personally can't do it. Like, I would much rather just take Kershaw at 11-2. Or no, actually, let me make this way easier on you. If you're paying 11-6, just pay the extra 600 and take Garrett Cole against Baltimore. Lock in your double-digit strikeouts.
All right.
I mean, really.
Oh, no, I agree, because if you start projecting popularity, I would guess DeGrom's probably going to be 30-35% on DK. That means all these guys above him are probably going to be about half that. There are some hitters we want to get in. There's not Coors Field. There's still a couple good hitting environments here. But some of these high-priced pitchers, it feels like they're too much. This is where the game theory comes in. This is the DraftKings social experiment pricing, as a lot of people like to joke about. But what are you going to do? So, you're buying a lower popularity pitcher. Now, of course, it hurts that DeGrom is one of the best pitchers out there, but weird stuff can happen. So this will make
Garrett Cole has a 37% strikeout rate, 41% against lefties, 34% against righties, a 16% swinging strike rate. There's just no comparison there at all. And both of them have good matchups.
Yeah. It's very interesting. Very, very interesting. Any thoughts on Urena before we move
on? No.
Okay. Next one here, this is one of the good hitting environments. We do have the Oakland Athletics going into Texas, taking on the Rangers. 84 degrees at first pitch. A bit of a 7 to 8 mile an hour breeze going out there to right field. You have the Oakland Athletics checking in at 5.3 implied run total. Vegas has Texas at a 5.4 implied run total. Well, it makes sense going against Brett Anderson for the Rangers. But Lance Lynn, 9,700, Laffy, 9,700, and he's actually kind of earned it with his performance. Just the underlying stats and respect are not really going to be there. I want no part of him at this price point in this pitching environment against a power-packed team that does have enough lefties in it to keep Lance Lynn honest. Either of these pitchers interest you at all?
And that is what's kind of funny about it, because Lance Lynn has always been really good against righties, like our borderline elite against righties for his entire career. This year, oddly enough, he's been better against lefties. Now, the sample is not big, but he's been better against lefties. He's allowed one home run and 164 plate appearances to lefties. It's pretty crazy. But more than anything, and he has a 351 BABIP against righties, 339 against lefties. So he hasn't even been lucky. Lanson's not a bad pitcher. He's had bad season or two, but I don't see him being a $9,700 pitcher at Globe Life Park. It's just really difficult to get there. 90 degrees are 87 degrees, temperature or wind blowing out 13 miles per hour to right center field. You can do a lot better than that.
All right, then let's continue on here. Next one, intriguing hitting environment. There's going to be one offense we want to take. That is the Milwaukee Brewers going against rookie Davis. They have a 5.8 implied run total. On the other side, we have Brandon Woodruff, who got pushed back a day there with the Freddie Peralta return. And you've got Pittsburgh carrying a 3.8 implied run total. Woodruff is 78 on DraftKings. That is very nice. He's 44 on Yahoo. Not a great deal when you consider that DeGrom is just $2 more, but he will be just about his ownership will just about be nil, because you also have Matt Boyd $1 less. You've got Andrew Heaney that's $2 less. You've got Soroka that's a couple bucks more. So he's going to be in that coined no man's land for Lafayette. I always like to call that the sweet spot where everybody overlooks you. But I like Woodruff. Not a fan of Rookie Davis. Rookie Davis has started out in the minors back in 2012, Loppy, when he was 19. He has a grand total of, 600 innings in the minors, just shy of 30 in the majors. I think that tells the story of everything we need to know. What do you want to do with these hurdlers?
Well, Woodruff, 7,800. Sorry, I've been a little bit sick this week. My brain's not functioning right. Woodruff's good. It's funny. The last start came against Pittsburgh and he got rocked, but he's still good and he's better than 7,800. So he was 10,100 when he faced Pittsburgh 5 days ago. Forget that. He was 10-1. Now he's 7-8. And if you're wondering why I say Woodruff's good, if you've been listening to me all season, if you've been watching the Deeper Dive of the podcast, you know that I mentioned Woodruff had the highest BABIP in the league among starting pitchers over the first 5 weeks. Well, that has come down a bit against righty. Lefties BABIP still 368. It's crazy, and he's just been very unlucky in that respect. But he's a very good pitcher. He gets a lot of strikeouts. I believe in Woodruff's stuff, no question. And I think this is just one of those spots where I don't love the matchup, but you're really just looking for upside. You're looking for strikeout upside, and it's 7,800. Like, I'll roll the dice on getting a big game from Woodruff over a similarly priced Jose Urena or Chirinos against Boston at a more expensive price, or Marcus Stroman against that, or Merrill Kelly or Zach Eflin. All of those guys, some of them significantly more expensive than Woodruff. To me, I just don't see how you'd get there. Woodruff makes the most sense at that $7,800 price point.
All right, 5 more to go. We are into Houston. Lofty sort of gave you a bit of a preview here. Garrett Cole, 12,200, most expensive on DK, 60 on Yahoo, most expensive there. He's going against the Baltimore Orioles. Yes, folks, a 2.8 implied run total there for the Orioles. Yikes. It's not in San Francisco. They still get a designated hitter. Not that it seems to matter. Lofty, I think you're right. Garrett Cole may have the most phenomenal matchup of the night. We know there's a few of the batters of Birdland are dinged up, but we will probably see Chris Davis, so there's some strikeouts there. Good chance Keon Broxton, who got the night off on Thursday, will be there. More strikeouts for Cole. This is a good one. You want to bring the hammer?
Sure, and I'll be honest, I don't even care what the Orioles K rate is. Active roster 23.2%, but as you just pointed out, my guess is that actually no, when was Chris Davis? He was activated 2 days ago, so FanGraphs should have.
He's got a game under his belt. So.
Yeah, 2 of them actually. I think they should have already figured. Yeah, okay, so he should be included in the active roster. I was thinking that might help us a bit, but it doesn't matter. Look, they have the 11th highest K rate against righties this season, but they're also just not good. So I don't worry about this whatsoever. You just, play Garrett Cole if you can afford it. It's going to be tough, but look, if you're stacking a cheap Blue Jays team, there's a couple teams that are discounted. That makes sense. DeGrom is obviously going to be the most appealing, but the Orioles have the third lowest WRC plus against righties this season. They have a 297 weighted on base, average that ranks third worst in the league, ahead of only the Tigers and Marlins. I mean, if you're paying a premium for a pitcher, like I said, find the extra 600 for Cole over Soroka, because otherwise it wouldn't make sense.
All right, next game here, we have the Chicago White Sox in Kansas City taking on the Royals. This game has a 10.5 implied run total, basically evenly split between the Chi Sox and the Royals. Von Nova taking the bump there for the White Sox. Homer Bailey on the mound for the Royals, should be in the mid-80s, and we have about an 8 to 10 mile an hour wind blowing in from center. Still a good run producing environment. Both these teams are a little sketchy on their bullpens, clearly sketchy on their starting pitching. On DraftKings, you're pretty much going to pay a pretty penny for the guys that you would really like from a hitting perspective. On Yahoo, they are a little more priced up than average. However, as we pointed out with a couple of these cheap pitchers that are out there, you can definitely make some stacks of this one. I like these guys because when these pitchers are had, they are had for bunches, and it's conga lines around the base path. And that's what I want to see. I just want to see turning the lineup over. And if there's not as many home runs in this one just because of the wind coming in, etc., I'm okay with that because it will still take doubles and triples.
Yeah, sure. Homer Bailey has a good splitter. He gets strikes. He gets missed bats on it. Once in a while, Bailey will miss some bats. More times than not, he'll get rocked. He's $4,500. Homer Bailey's in play. He is at $4,500. Like, especially if you're looking at Garrett Cole, and then you're pairing Garrett Cole with Homer Bailey, you're going from having like Garrett Cole with an 8K pitcher to pairing him with Bailey. Now you're looking at 16.7. That's an average of $8,300 per pitcher. It really makes things easier, and you don't need a big game from Bailey. So it's a risk, of course. But I do think at literally minimum salary, you could do a whole lot worse than Homer Bailey. And I mean that. I mean, you could do a whole lot better, but not at minimum salary. It's very seldom do you find guys at this price. By the way, he does have an 11% swinging strike rate this year. He is striking lefties out at 24%. And he's going to face a decent amount of lefties. It's not crazy to think that Bailey has 7 strikeouts here, and you're pretty happy with the results. So actually, he went 4 1/3 with 1 run and 5 Ks against the White Sox on the 27th. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that was the suspended game. So he actually, I think that game was suspended, and he would have kept going.
So yeah, those are good points. On Yahoo, would you go to him at 30, or would you still consider Pineda at 26 to be a little bit better deal?
Oh, I think Pineda is still your better option there.
It's a $2,000 price difference on DK, which definitely puts Bailey in front.
Right,
but
and 30 for Bailey, I think is
yeah, he's still in play at 30. He's right there with Plesac.
Basically, though, if you took that DraftKings price and converted it to Yahoo, he'd be 25. So it's a really good DraftKings price. You're not going to get cheaper than that. And it's funny because, you could almost make the same argument for Ivan Nova. They're just really cheap. They're not very good, but like, again, the pitchers you usually get down there are really, really, really bad. Nova's not good. And that's why I'd rather just go with Bailey here. But if somebody won a tournament with either of them, not both of them, either of them, I don't think anyone would be shocked because it allows you to get so much. You'd only need a pedestrian game from them.
Well, lightning could strike, Coffee. I mean, good guy. The Mariners did Wade LeBlanc and then turned around with Mike Leake.
You know what they say, lightning doesn't strike twice in the same spot.
There we are. Well, they'll be in different dugouts, so that could help out.
I guess that makes sense.
All right, 3 games to go here. We got Seattle Mariners. We've got the Angels. You have Marco Gonzalez coming in at $6,900 on DK, which is, of course, a very nice price. On the other side, you have Andrew Heaney, who is $9,200. Remember, he missed the better part of the first month plus of the season with the elbow discomfort. but he has come back. Let's see. In his first one, I think he went like 85 pitches. His last game, he went 92. So we do like that. Mariners are a little bit weakened with some of the guys they have on the DL. Not that Jay Bruce was going to be doing a ton of damage against lefties, but they were not afraid to run him out there. Let's see. It looks like we might have a questionable Mitch Haniger. You've got, who am I missing? Vogelbach, of course, not quite as good against lefties. Kyle Seager was been hurt most of the season. He's not very good against lefties, and he's on the downside of his career. Shed Long, Dylan Moore, those guys are at the bottom of the lineup. Their recent call-ups, literally no power from those guys. Andrew Heaney at 92. I don't know about on the main slate, but the 3-game late slate, Lofty, we're looking at one of the potential stalwarts here of our lineups, right up there with Clayton Kershaw. What do you like or dislike with Gonzalez and Heaney?
I think with Heaney, it's a big time boom or bust spot. In one sense, the Mariners had the second highest K rate versus lefties on the active roster. On another side of that, they have a 111 WRC plus against left-handers, which ranks in the top 10. Their 201 ISO ranks, I believe, in the top 10, right outside of the top 10. So, and their 330 WOBA also ranks, I believe, top 10 as well, or right outside of it. So we know they have power. That's a fact, but they also have just been striking out at a really high clip. So I don't think Heaney's a terrible play at all. I mean, how much do you want to pay for him is the question. Look, he's good. He's got that good curveball that is clearly getting him a lot of success early on. And I've always thought he was first of all, he's just always hurt. He's been injured so many times, it's hard to keep track of the guy. But just pulling this up now, and I'm doing it quick for the sake of time since it's 14 games, but I do think it's important. So on the season, he's throwing the curve 30% of the time, not surprising. He doesn't throw a 4-seamer. It's like a straight 2-seamer curve with a little bit of changeup, but he hasn't thrown the changeup at all in these 2 starts. He's been a 2-pitch pitcher, which does concern me a little bit. That worries me when you keep going. But the whiff rate on his curveball is 34% through his first 2 starts. That not whiffs per swing, whiff rate. That's crazy. He has a 64% whiff per swing rate on the pitch over his first 2 starts. You keep missing bats like that, he won't. It's not sustainable, but you keep getting, 25+% whiffs on your curveball, you're going to continue to see really good strikeout numbers from Heaney. So yes, I do think there's upside here. And I actually don't even think it's a crazy idea to consider Heaney on DraftKings on the full slate at 9,200, hoping, however, that he can get up to 100 pitches.
All right, he is 41 on Yahoo, so definitely in the
and no interest in Gonzalez, by the way. He might not have a single strikeout on this start. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, but I figure it was last game or 2 games ago he put up a bunch, but he's one of the guys I like to watch because, of course, I like the Mariners, and usually I can watch
He doesn't have more than 4 strikeouts in a game since April 25th.
Okay, I had thought there was one in there, but that's the one thing against.
Yeah, no, you're right. April 25th, he had 9, but okay. Then it was 2-3, 3-3, 3-4, 2. Those are strikeouts.
Yeah, they're kind of non-existent. He is like a homeless man's left-handed version of Tanner Roark when it comes to strikeouts.
I bet he could get him if he wanted him. He's not a terrible pitcher.
No, he's a good pitcher. It's not in the mix or the style, and he's been doing okay. I don't when he's up there, I don't mind him being the starter. He's a number 3 starter, but I don't mind him being on the Mariners. Moving on, 2 more games to go. Eric Fetty at 8,000. I don't even know where to start with that. So I'm not. You have Nick Margevicius over there at 6,300. Margevicius, back from the minors there. I wanted to see. I think this is his second. We can't spell Margevicius without an R. Let's see. Yeah, he in his last start after being punted down to the minors, he went 53 pitches, managed to not give up a home run. So there's a positive there. Only had 1 walk, but he did have 5 runs, 4 were earned, and that was against the Marlins. Now I know the Marlins are one of the fiercest offenses out there. Well, at least they are for the last 6 days. But yeah, I don't really want either of these guys. Fede is 30 on Yahoo. if you want him on one of their later slates there, that's not a bad way to go. But he just does not have the upside. And there is a ton of right-handed power in the Padres lineup. And I think too many people sleep on that. So I really don't want either of these pitchers.
Zero interest in either. Yeah. Like you said, if he's super cheap, Fetty might not be the worst. Like, if he's really, really discounted against the Padres, I'm okay with that. But he's not going to miss a lot of bats. You just got to hope that the Padres strike out at a high enough clip. And they do, but he is also just. Do you know what his K rate is against righties this year? He's faced 62 of them. Can you take a guess for me?
Oh, I haven't looked.
Don't look.
No, I'm not. I'm 11.
8.
God, I was gonna go with 7, but I thought that was just
9.7% walks. So he's striking 24% of lefties out, but outside of, maybe they have Garcia and Hosmer and what's that, Josh Naylor? That's probably gonna be it.
It's a mess. Is what it is.
But yeah, we can move on. Get to the last game here.
Final game of the night. This one is the Dodgers, the Giants. It is going to be a low implied run total, 7.5 runs, 4.5 going to the visiting Dodgers against Drew Pomeranz. Drew Pomeranz, 6,700. That will be worth some consideration in the late slate, but he will have to face as many righties as the Dodgers feel like putting out there. On the other side, you have Clayton Kershaw, who is 11,200, and while he is not Clayton effing Kershaw, this is one of the best matchups out there. It's going to be 65 at first pitch, a slight breeze going out to right, but the way they have built this ballpark, the breeze does not really affect anything within the confines of the walls. I'm okay with Kershaw as a differentiation play here. He'd probably be third, fourth on my list. I'm guessing on the main slate, that means I'll get him on about 10% of my lineups. But on the late slate, the 3-gamer, you're going to be looking at him and Haney. So that's where you'll get to have some fun rooting for these late games. What is your level of interest for Kershaw, and then any interest in Pomeranz?
Yeah, I mean, the Giants do have a top 7 K rate against lefties this year. They also have a 76 WRC plus and a 284 WOBA, just brutal numbers. So,
but it's the names, Laffy. Aramis Garcia, Donovan Solano, Joe Panic. Are those scaring you? There's no panic here other than Joe.
It's horrible. I can't believe I played a bunch of them against Jason Vargas the other day.
Jason Vargas.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. But Kershaw's perfectly fine. Obviously, like I said, your best shot of having that monster game in the high range is Garrett Cole, and getting down to DeGrom. Those two make the most sense, but not going to blame anybody for going to Clayton Kershaw at Oracle Park against the San Francisco Giants. And I have no interest in Drew Pomeranz, not even on a 1-game slate.
All right. That'll do it. A less than rousing endorsement there for Drew Pomeranz. Reminder, you can follow Laffy on Twitter at Laffy_D. I am at EMAC DFS. We already told you all the different ways you can watch the Osmo programming on Friday. There will be the Osmo betting show. There will be 4 baseball shows. And I think there's another special show they're looking at dropping there. It's called NBA because game 3 is on Friday night, so you're going to get Fast Eddie Fair. And Rinpack cleaned up with about a 50K night on game 1. So shout out to him for that one. And by the way, Eddie asked him to come on the show with him. So when you get the seal approval for Eddie taking some of his airtime, it's got to be worthwhile. So check those guys out. Go ahead and follow us over there on Twitter at Osmo_COM, or follow the YouTube channel, Osmo_COM as well. With that, gamers, good luck.